It is a story recorded in just 2 verses of the book of Genesis, a tiny, almost unbelievable footnote in the relentless death registry of the first generation. Yet it is a narrative that shatters every known rule of human history and the very finality of life itself. Long before the great flood washed the earth clean, long before the call of Abraham established the nation of faith, there lived a man who achieved the absolute impossible. He did not succumb to illness, he did not draw his final fading breath, and he left behind no grave, no marker, and no tomb for his descendants to mourn. He simply vanished. He was a solitary witness to an ancient world that was rapidly becoming saturated with corruption, despair, and an accelerating violence. Yet he maintained a clarity of spirit that few have ever achieved. His name was Enoch, and the deepest question his story poses is not where God took him, but how a mortal man qualified for such a divine retrieval. He unlocked the profound secret to walking so intimately with the Creator that he can completely bypass the final inevitable fate of every other human soul. Enoch was born into the long, heavy genealogy of Adam, a lineage that read like a sorrowful, predictable death march. Son begat son, and then he died. The human story, from its earliest chapters, was a relentless, crushing countdown to dust, a procession toward decay. But Enoch was the singularity. He made a radical, conscious choice to pursue a different path, a path of persistent, courageous resistance against the spiritual decline of his culture. The scripture says he walked with God. This was not merely a passive, ceremonial acknowledgement of divinity. It was a deliberate, intimate, moment-by-moment communion that defined his every hour. Imagine the moral and spiritual climate he was forced to endure, a world where the fear of the Almighty was rapidly evaporating, and the lust for physical power and unchecked desire was rising like a tide. Yet, in that encroaching, seductive darkness, Enoch stood as a solitary light, an uncompromising testament to a faithful, two-sided relationship in a world that had become spiritually deaf to the divine voice. He possessed the quiet, unwavering courage to live by the unseen, eternal rules of his God, while every person around him was living by the visible, selfish, and immediate demands of their own fallen nature. His entire life was an unending act of patient, intentional, and persistent defiance against the gathering current of his own desperate age. His focus was not on the fleeting pleasures of the fallen world, but on the eternal pleasure of his companion. And then came the stunning climax, just as he was nearing the threshold of old age. Genesis chapter 5 delivers the core message with breathtaking, almost jarring simplicity. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. He was not. This phrase is one of the most powerful and chilling statements in all of Scripture. Imagine the scene from the perspective of his family or his community. One moment, the respected man is seen walking his familiar path along the edge of the known world, perhaps teaching his children or pausing in prayer. The next, the path is silent and completely empty. The physical presence is gone, replaced only by a profound, unexplained absence. There was no preceding struggle, no protracted sickness, no final ceremony. The covenant between Enoch and his Creator was so fully realized, so deeply trusted, and so perpetually active that God simply annulled the distance between them. He did not wait for the long, not slow shadow of death to claim his faithful companion. He reached across the boundary of mortality and brought him home. The life Enoch lived served as a dramatic, mysterious whisper of the resurrection long before the promise was ever fully articulated. His absolute, uncompromising faith was the single currency that bought him passage clean out of time, literally transporting him beyond the curse of the earth. He was translated, lifted from the earthly stage because his spirit and his will were already perfectly, irrevocably aligned with the heart, the will, and the eternal purpose of heaven. The silent, inexplicable departure of Enoch leaves us with a necessary foundational and profound truth that anchors our modern lives. His unique experience reveals that the ultimate, definitive measure of a successful existence is not the accumulation of vast earthly achievements or the security of a long lifespan, but the relentless pursuit of intimacy with the divine. The depth and the sustained quality of your personal relationship with God is the single metric that will truly matter in the final cosmic ledger. Enoch walked with God, not merely for God. He was not consumed by the stress of spiritual performance, He was constantly sustained by divine companionship, and that companionship became his divine escape strategy. This extraordinary story teaches us that heaven is not a cold, distant destination that you desperately try to rush toward at the very end of your life, but a rich, active fellowship you can and must fully engage in right now, in the midst of this fallen earth. The only way to find the unshakable anchor for your soul is to stop running in frantic, self-generated effort and to start walking with the intentional, quiet intimacy that defined the prophet Enoch, alongside the very presence of your Creator. If the cinematic power of Enoch's story anchors your hope and reminds you that sustained faithfulness has a reward that transcends the very limits of this mortal world, please take a moment to subscribe to the Anchor Scroll. We are relentlessly committed to bringing you these high-quality, cinematic narratives of biblical truth and deep reflection 4 times every single week. And if you're struggling with fear or doubt in your own walk, if the path ahead seems uncertain and fraught with worry, make sure you watch our latest deep dive message, Stop Worrying About Tomorrow, next. Press the subscribe button now and join us as we continue to uncover the eternal, powerful truths hidden within the sacred scripture.